Welcome everyone to another grammar lesson. I do this because grammar is all-encompassing. It is like the Force in Star Wars, which is also why sometimes people that study grammar for a long time, they can feel it across many solar systems when someone messes up their grammar real badly. And you don't want to be that person. So for that purpose, today I've prepared a grammar lesson for you. Yes, you. So let's get started. I'm ready for you to drop some new grammar. Yes, I hope so. I hope it'll be new. Maybe it'll be a review for some of you. Let's jump in. This seems good. So, my dear people in chat, I have prepared a lesson about mama and also panassi, but we're actually going to talk about panassi a bit later. So, hello Beth, by the way. Let us start. First of all, I have decided to actually copy in the entry. Why is the voice acting tag in the text? I don't know. I just leave that in because I always voice act when we play games, so I just leave it in and I just don't forget about it. Sonomama. Yes, exactly. So I've decided to actually go with a new thing. I've decided to copy in the nice dictionary entry over here. Just so we can see all the different kanji. Now, I will say I have seen this, right? I've seen this. I'll make it red so it stands out. I've seen this kanji. This one here. I have never seen either of these used, but they may be. Okay, so I don't know. Just remember that you may see it. This one has an arrow up, which makes sense a little bit to me. It's certainly, out of all these, is the one I've at least seen. The other ones I have not seen. The place where I have seen them the most is in expressions. For example, you'll see it in like wagamama. Now, wagamama may be an expression you've heard. So that one would be. Wait, let's see if I can actually be like this, right? Hey, that's not bad. Wagamama, right? It would look like this. Oof. Something like that, right? Yeah. There, wagamama, which this would obviously, well, I say obviously, wagamama usually just means as one wants or selfishly. It has the same, yeah, it has the same sort of connotation as one likes, right? But here the waga basically means my. So this part is like my way, right? Like as I desire. So then it turns into this definition of like selfish, or like conceited or whatever, like wagamama. It means like the way that you want it, essentially, as opposed to the way someone else may want it. So the kanji version, most of the time I see it in expressions like these. So the other one would be like omou ga mama, but these are more archaic expressions. Okay, so kino muku mama or something like that, which I think means like your inclination tells you to, or like however your inclination is. I think it's muku mama, but it could also be something else. I'm not quite sure. Doesn't really matter that much. You will see mama in all these different situations. Today I will mostly focus on non pajama no mama. Yeah, that works too. I will mostly focus on what's it called? Non-proverbs, or not proverbs, but non-like fixed expressions. Not stuff like wagamama, just like the general use of mama. You can see that in the dictionary, it basically shows us what it means. It's used as like as is. Mama is a grammatical phrase, and you can see this down here, a grammatical phrase that expresses a lack of change. And it's used like a regular noun. This is true for all the usages. So you have noun here and noun here. So all the usages of mama are as nouns, and it really just expresses that something doesn't change. It's a lack of change. It expresses a thing that stays in a given state, right? It does not change. There is no change. Something was put in a state and it is left there, right? And then here there's an example. So this example you might see at like a konbini, right? Wait. So the place where you might see a konbini, at a convenience store. このままでよろしいですか? このまま. So you can see it's used just like a noun, right? この this here, mama like as it is. This here as it is, de yoroshii desu ka? And yoroshii is the same as good. It's just e, okay? It's a more formal version of e. Yoroshii desu ka? Is it good as it is? But this way that it is here, is that good? So you're asking, like, if the clerk asks you to, you know, have the stuff just like it is, or maybe you want like a bag or something. And by the way, if you do hear this, you could answer with like yoroshii desu or whatever, right? You could answer with the affirmative, saying like it's fine. Or I'm not actually sure if you wanted like a bag, you could say something like 袋も必要なんですけど or something like that. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Hey, Akira Sensei, how are you doing? Thanks for the raid. Just in time. We have only just started our grammar lesson about using mama. Does anyone in Akira Sensei's chat use or know how to use mama? Ojamashimashou. Welcome everyone. Shout out to Japanese Quest. How was your stream? So I was just saying, like, common place where you might see mama used this way. Convenience store. このままでよろしいですか? よろしいですか? Is the kedo necessary? No, it's just something I added because it just ended up that way. So sometimes, you know, you speak, you just say what feels nice in the moment. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Welcome to Game Grammar. You've joined us just in time for our weekly. Wait, you can't see both. Here, weekly. I try and do it weekly, okay? I've been skipping out, but, well, I try and do it weekly. Grammar lesson. So, let's quickly... What is the lesson today? We're talking about mama and panashi. So basically talking about things that stay in a specific state. Let me show you examples. So mama is actually very easy, right? Because it is a noun, as I've written down here. Because it is a noun, it acts like a noun. And it happens that nouns are basically the easiest words to deal with in Japanese because they don't really change. They don't really do anything. They just stay... They stay このままで. They stay just like that, okay? So you can express the property of mama using mama itself. So in that way, it describes itself. There's a name for words like these. Hokkaido Gaming, thanks for following. So let's just straight up go into some examples. Let me just get rid of this. Boom. First example. I need to get rid of this thing here too. 半分しか食べてないままで捨てちゃダメ. Love your layout on the blackboard. Yes, so... I've always used this Blackboard thing, but I've been using a lot more pre-made examples and images now, so I don't have to do as much writing while I actually talk, which actually speeds up the process a lot. 半分しか食べてないままで捨てちゃダメ. So we have a bunch of things going on here. First of all, let's just quickly look at this part, 捨てちゃダメ. So for those of you that haven't done the sort of the conditional ones, or the must not. Just real quick, 捨てちゃダメ is a casual way of phrasing. It's basically 捨ては 捨てては yeah, there you go. 捨てる yeah, so it would be 捨てて yeah, sorry, I had to think there because 捨てて yeah, okay. This actually makes me think because 捨てる is a weird one. 捨てる, so it's 捨てて捨てて捨ててる. Okay, sorry, I tripped myself up there because 捨てる already has the te in there. So when it's in te form, it actually has double te. But I had to like confirm in my head that that's true. But it is true. 捨てる 捨てて that is true. It just sounds weird. Onyx is that. Thank you for following. 捨てて. So 茶 is just short for tewa, okay? You can actually remember that. That's a general rule. This is always true. Cha is always short for tewa. So, 捨ててはダメ. And then 捨ててはダメ just means you must not, essentially, right? 捨ててはダメ, you must not. Okay, so this part just means must not throw away. Must not throw away or throw out. And then here's the part we're actually talking about. 半分しか食べてないまま. So here we see mama used, and the way it's used is essentially very standard. It's a noun, so all we do is add a phrase on top of it, or we add a phrase in front of it to get a relative clause. 半分しか食べてないまま. So in the state of only having eaten half of it, or not having eaten the other half, essentially, 半分しか食べてない. You've only eaten one half, right? And in that state, mama, it stays unchanged in that half-eaten state. So I don't know, imagine like a plate, I don't know, plate kind of looking like this, right? And you've eaten only like half the rice, okay? So this is your rice, and you've only eaten half of it, and it is left in that state. Yeah, 手を捨ててては手を捨ててないでください. Essentially, yeah, there you go. I was I was doing tenuki or whatever, like ranuki. So you've only eaten half, and this is the state that it's in. It's left like that. And then in that state, you have the de particle here, sort of saying like mama de, that in like, while it is in that state, it was the same usage as kono mama de yoroshii, like in that state, is it good? Often de is used to then like lead on to the next one. Now, I'm pretty sure, let me think for a second. I'm not quite, so this de could actually be a conjunctive conjunctive copula, but it's actually, maybe that's going too deep. Let's just remember that de often is added to states. So imagine like when you say hitori de, alone, right? Hitori de means alone. This is kind of the same thing. You mean hanbun shika tabete nai mama de. So in that state. And then stecha dame, you must not throw it away. Essentially saying you shouldn't throw away food, or you must not throw away food that you've only eaten half of when there's half of it left. Gotta go by. Take care. Lomeo, there you go. I wanted to make sure I read that correctly. What does shika mean? So shika is a word that means only, but it's a word that is only used with negative verbs. Kore shika nai. There is only this. It essentially means you're essentially saying like the other one is not there, right? Kore shika nai, there is only this, or other than this, there is nothing. So shika means only, but it is a word that can only be used with negative verbs or negative sentences, okay? So, yeah. Yeah, 否定形でしか使えない言葉 would be the Japanese way of saying you can only use it in negative sentences. And you can use shika in that sentence to express that. Does that make sense? But I hope to learn something just listening in the background. Yeah, so this is like lesson 45 that I'm doing. For those of you that want to start with lesson 1, here's the... Wow, why did I do kana? Sorry. I pressed the wrong button there. Anyways, but yeah, if you want to check out the first lesson, you can check the second link that the one with Japanese 101. Sorry, I misclicked and I posted a whole bunch of links. So this is my first sentence the first sentence that I'm gonna mention. Yeah, I have hotkeys for them. I have hotkeys on my Stream Deck for them. Let's look at the second sentence. There we go. 今日だけは悲しいままでいさせてほしい. So this is a little bit, we have another few layers of complexity here with our いさせてほしい. Let's talk about that. I was wondering about the kind. Yeah, it was a misclick. いさせてほしい. So I have made a lesson about tehoshi, so you can check that out. Do you upload your lessons regularly? I try to. I'm almost caught up. I'm not quite caught up, but there's like 5 or 6 lessons that I still need to upload, but I try. The katakana, I mean. Oh, the katakana. Oh, so here katakana is just because dame is often in katakana. There's not really another reason for that. Dame is just a word that is commonly found in katakana. That's it. So here what's going on, essentially, this is the causative form of iru, and it just means let me be, and tehoshi means I want you to do that for me. So like, will you please let me be in a state, right? So this essentially means like, please let me be in X state, right? Like, please, this is horrible handwriting, but I'm saying it, so just remember what I'm saying, I guess. Please let me be in X state, essentially. So you're asking someone, cause dama is really like damn, right? Dame is really like damn, right? No, dame means no good. Hey Kimomu, dame means no good. It's bad. It means that it is not good, essentially. It means like, yeah, dame. It doesn't mean damn. Damn would be more like, I don't know, like kso or whatever. The way it's used, at least. Like real damnedness is different, but no one really uses damned in like its original meaning of damning someone, like condemn or whatever. Like that's not really used. So it's more damn. People use like damn it or whatever. They say like kuso, right? So with this part here basically meaning please let me be in a state. Well, we have a state right here. Remember that phrases that end with mama express a state when something is left in a specific state. Yeah, and I'm more or less interchangeable. Not really, it depends. They say different things usually. Yeah usually talks about preferences, like what you like or what you don't like. So yeah is usually like what you like is you, or what you, when you say yeah usually just means that I don't want this. Like it's a feelings, it's like a feelings thing. It's saying like this is no good for me, I don't like this. Kuso is not fecal. Well, kuso is fecal, but it's like more close to say like damn it. I don't want to talk about this. Sorry. That's definitely outside the range of the lesson today. But yeah, feel free to still ask me questions, but while the lesson is ongoing, I will take the liberty of steering back towards the lesson. After the lesson, which is going to be about in a half an hour or so, feel free to ask me any question you like, and then we can talk as much as we want, okay? 今日だけは悲しいままでいさせてほしい. So, only today, right? Just today. Well, here's our topic marker. So just for today, 悲しいままで. So in the state of being sad. 悲しい means sad, right? Being sad. And then here this whole thing is like, well, 悲しいまま here basically means left in the state of feeling sad. 今日だけは悲しいままでいさせてほしい. I want you to like, please let me be sad just today. Right? So let's say you're grieving. Someone died in your family. You would say, 今日だけは悲しいままでいさせてほしい. This, by the way, is not a polite sentence. It's an informal sentence. It's not rude. By no means is it rude, but if you wanted to say this to someone you're on desmas basis, you can simply add this to the end of this, and now it is a more polite sentence. So there's a very easy way of changing the sentence to be more formal or more polite. Now, I've made a whole lesson about formal and polite, but sometimes I use the terms interchangeably, even though maybe it's better to think of them as not interchangeable, but yeah. So if you want to make this polite, you can simply add this to the end of it. Just something to point out. So just today, let me be in the state of being sad, essentially. Leave me be sad. Like, let me be sad. That's what it means. Here's another example. その格好のままで Again, we basically all of these sentences add, like, they all mark the state in de. And again, think of this like when someone says hitoride, which just means by yourself, right? It's just sort of the de usage that says like in that state or whatever. Is like the easiest way I can describe it right now. The Nocta, thanks for following. フォローありがとうございます。その格好のままでクラブに入れないよ. Okay? So, first of all, let's again look at the ending sentence here, or the second clause. クラブに入れないよ. This is a little bit more straightforward. Essentially, we have 入れない, which just means cannot enter, right? Just means cannot enter. Cannot enter. And then the rest is pretty straightforward. The rest is pretty straightforward. クラブに入れないよ. You cannot enter the club. So, what can you not enter the, like, why can you not enter the club? Well, その格好のままで. 格好 means outfit. So, while you're in the state of having this outfit, you cannot enter the club. Okay, so in this, while you're left with this outfit, その格好のままでクラブに入れないよ. You cannot enter. Okay? Here, note, again, we have, here's a very simple thing going on. We have essentially have その格好, which kind of morphs into being one noun phrase, I guess you could call it, like a noun construct. And then we simply have no, and we have another noun. So this here is, grammatically speaking, it's no different than any other time you have noun, no, noun. It's the same construction. It's the same exact grammar going on as any time you have a noun, a no, and then another noun. Okay, there is no difference here. Just that mama has a specific meaning, but essentially all we're doing is packaging up these nouns into like one state and then calling it like, essentially, and then like saying like in that state of having this outfit or that outfit. If you want to translate sono as that specifically, right? You could say that outfit in that state, you cannot enter the club. That's it. Okay? That's really it. So we have here, we have 3 examples. You will note that here we have verb plus mama, It's a negative verb, but that doesn't matter. You could have a positive verb as well, like taberu mama, like that's fine as well. Or tabeteiru mama, like all of these are totally fine. You can just add it behind any verb in any conjugation as long as it's a sentence ending conjugation. Yes, all sentence ending conjugations should work. I can't think of any that wouldn't work right now, so past tense would also work. Continuous forms like teiru, continuous past tenses, all of these sentence ending conjugations, they will all work. Here we have an adjective. So we have adjective plus mama. That's fine too, perfectly fine. Again, why does this all work? Well, because mama is just a noun. So anything that... I often hear this when buying something with a plastic bag. Hey, yeah, that's true. このままでよろしいですか? Do you need a bag? Is it good like this? Do you need a bag? I actually showed that sentence in the beginning as well. Yeah, they'll ask you if you're good that way. Not to be confused with mama. Yes, don't confuse it with mother. By the way, mama, the word for mom, and this mama, they have nothing to do with each other, okay? They are... As far as I can tell, they are not related. So they just happen to sound the same. Has nothing to do with mothers, okay? Just keep that in mind. So yeah, you have 3 nice examples here with a verb, with an adjective, and with a noun. Now, obviously, you wouldn't add this to a adverb. Why? Ask yourself real quick before I give away the answer. Exactly, because adverbs describe actions and verbs, but not nouns. So it wouldn't make sense to use an adverb with mama being a noun. There you go. That's it. Okay. I'm going to clear this up, and then we're going to move on. I encourage you to, when you now do some immersion practice, maybe you go read, maybe you go watch anime. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whatever you do, if it's in Japanese, listen out. You will hear mama. I guarantee you, if you do it long enough, you will hear mama. It's a very... you will hear mama. Mama hears everything. It's a very common construction, so or a very common word that you will actually notice. And if you just, now that you're aware of it, I can almost guarantee you that you will hear it in the near future. Omnicron, thank you for following. Follow, arigatou gozaimasu. Let us move on then to our second topic for today, the second and last topic. I assume you cannot use must this form before mama. This mama. No, because you can never have this in front of a noun. Yeah, so maybe just, I can answer that, or I can talk about this real quick. You can never really have this. Like, this plus noun is just not a thing. Must plus noun? Like, I could imagine seeing that, tabetemasu mama. Like, maybe, but that doesn't sound very right. Someone might say that, but yeah, no, I don't think so. Like, this mama, no. You can never have, like, for some reason, I don't know why, but this is just never... it's just never attributive. It is never put in front of nouns. Because we have other forms here. We would have attributive this is essentially attributive da, which is essentially not. Right? So yeah. So no, that won't happen. But with mas, you might see it. I doubt it though. It's not something that I would think people would do. So yeah, no. Let's just say no. All right. Our second and last topic. Panassi. It's very similar. So panassi, essentially another word to express a state. Here's a lot of information on the page. Once again, I copied out these entries from the dictionary because panassi comes from this word here, hanasu, which means to release, to let go, to let loose, essentially. And then you have another verb here, horu, which uses the same kanji and is kind of similar in its etymology, which means to neglect, to abandon, to leave alone, to give up on, to leave undone. Panassi, in the way it looks and sounds, is more close to hanasu. It actually comes from this word, hanasu, here. But its meaning is closer to what we have here with number 2 for horu. So... to let loot? I don't know where you read that. To let... Did I say it? To let loose is what it says. To let loose. I'm not sure if I said that, but yeah. Its meaning is more close to the second meaning here for horu. So, down here, right? Adding panassi to any verb stem indicates that something was kind of done and then just left in that state. Okay, like it was kind of abandoned in a state. Okay, imagine someone did half of their homework and then they just walked away. That would be a good place to use panashi. Okay, the difference between mama and panashi in that regard, I would say, is mostly in the fact that panashi emphasizes more that it was like something was just abandoned, right? Something was just left as it is. Whereas mama is a bit more neutral. Mama just says that something is in a state and it's not changing. Okay, so think about this, right? Like mama is more about the fact that it doesn't change. Panasu is more about the fact that it was left, right? Undone, or it was left in a state. Okay, that's like the main difference here. Panashi. Thank you for following. Orange B Space. Follow arigatou gozaimasu. Would be good use for chuto hampa, right? Yeah, that makes that you could say yes. Chuto hampa means it's like half finished or undone. Yeah. Yeah, you could say like something that was abandoned is by definition is kind of chuto hampa in many ways. So yeah, you could probably find a way of combining the two. Yeah. It's just like chuto hampa being a yoji jukugo, there are certain times when it makes sense for them to be used, and there's other times when it doesn't really make sense. Chuto hampa usually used as an adjective. Chuto hampa not into like they're half-assed guys. I do half my homework all the time. It'd be a good way to use panashi. Discontinued or more like abandoned ship. Discontinued. Abandoned as in a project that was abandoned. A project that was no longer continued or discontinued, as you mentioned. Okay, and then here, so you add it to the stem, to any verb stem. This is important. We'll talk about how these stems work. 後ろの人と一緒に配信していますか? 後ろの人. You mean the Japanese Quest? I don't really do stuff together with him. Not really because we don't want to. It's just we haven't really. I don't do collabs that often. So yeah, maybe. But no, I don't. If you mean Japanese Quest. No, behind you. 後ろの人. いないよ, 後ろに. 後ろに人いないわ. There is no one behind me. Or is there? No, there isn't. But there's a little tiger plushie that you can't see. It's just off screen. Does it depend on seriousness? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean, so I'm not sure what to answer. So, you add it to the verb stem. We'll look at the verb stem to explain how that works. And then, this is another thing that's kind of important, is that the combination of the verb plus panashi then works like a regular noun. Anki o shippanashi, like this. Anki o shippanashi, I guess, but then it means that shippanashi, like you did it and then left or something. You left it, because usually it would be like shinaipanashi ni, I guess. Well, actually, do you use negatives? I have to think. Du lasse eine Hilfsleistung? No, I don't think it's like that. All right, before we get into the examples, I want to look at the formation of it. And then we can get into the examples, and we can actually look into all of those questions as well. So let me get rid of this. I have, not examples, sorry. I have a structure written down right here. So this is just an example as to how you would actually construct a sentence with panashi before we look at the examples. It's just mas stem plus panashi, and that just looks like this. I made two examples with ichidan and godan. I hope you know your mas stems. If you don't, just repeat them. For those of you that don't know the term but maybe know a little bit more Japanese, mas stem is just whatever the mas form is but without the mas itself. So when you say tabemasu, the mas stem is just a way of referring to only the tabe part and forgetting about the mas part, okay? So if you already know all those conjugations, you already know all the mas stems. It's just that maybe you haven't heard it referred to it, you haven't referred to it as that. But if you know your mas forms, you know your mas stems by definition. Because the mas stem is called that because it's what you add mas to make the polite form, okay? So I made two examples here. First of all, we have an ichidan verb, so hirakeru, which means to open, or akeru. This could be both, by the way. Yeah, we could say akeru, hirakeru, and it would just conjugate to akepanashi, because this is the mas stem right here, and then we add panashi like this. And then I made an example of the godan verb. Here it's kaku, to write. Oh, by the way, akeru, hirakeru means to open up, to open something like a door, or a book as well. With books, you would usually use akeru, akete, hon o akeru. 本を hirakeru. Hon o akeru, I think. It's akeru and hirakeru are a bit of a weird case that I always have to actually look up when I want to explain them. But then I think most of the time when I read them or see them, it's like, oh, I can guess which one it is. But yeah, they're a bit annoying. But either way, so to open it up, hirakepanashi is how you would say that. And for kaku, it would be kakipanashi. Kakipanashi, okay? Kakipanashi. So essentially, one here leaves akepanashi means it was left open, like something, imagine a window. I think we'll have that example actually. Imagine a window and the window was opened and it's just left like that. As someone opened the window and they just walked away and they abandoned the window as it was. And then kakipanashi may be like someone wrote down some notes and they just left. And now it's kakipanashi, like it was written and it's just left like that. Okay, that would be essentially the meaning of that. Let's go to our examples. I have 3 examples again. Zoom. テレビをつけっぱなしにしなければ眠れない人は結構いる. This is a pretty long sentence, but just to like illustrate, right? テレビをつけっぱなし. This is really the meat of our sentence here. Once again, you can see here, こんばんは, こんばんは. You can see here that the part with the verb, which is from here, the part with the verb and then panashi is essentially just treated as like a noun at this point. So this whole part kind of can just be treated like a noun. It just kind of merges into this noun construct. Thank you for following both of you, Long Pasta Noodle and Van Zerek. Foro arigato. Or maybe Van Zerg G. That's cool too. テレビをつけっぱなしに. And so, にする here. It's always fun to break these down kind of into their parts, like what they really are. We have an object here, terebi, which is a noun, right? This is a noun, this is a noun. So, terebi being the object. Tsukepanashi means, you know, it is left on. It was turned on and then is left like that. Nisuru, right? Ni suru means to like make it that way, to leave it that way in this case. And then we just conjugate that further. So, テレビをつけっぱなしにしなければ眠れない人は結構いる. Alright, so until here, this is the relative clause part of the sentence. So this is kind of where, when translating, we would start here. We would say, there are quite a few people. 人は結構いる. Right, there are quite a few people is what this part means. Anything from here to the right just means there are quite a few people. And then because of this relative clause, right, like people who つけっぱなし, テレビをつけっぱなしにしなければ眠れない. 眠れない means cannot sleep. And しなければない essentially means have to, right? I have made a lesson about have to or must or something like しなければならない, etc. しなければ blah, blah, blah. This essentially just means if not, they cannot sleep, which means they have to do it, or else they can't sleep, essentially. So there's quite a few people who cannot sleep unless they leave the TV on. Does that make sense? It's quite a long sentence, but that's essentially what it breaks down to. テレビをつけっぱなしにしなければ. If not, them leaving the television on, 眠れない, they cannot sleep. People は結構いる. There's quite a few of them. Or in more natural English, there is quite a few people who cannot sleep unless they leave on the television. Okay. Let's go to the second sentence. Here we have our 開ける. Okay. 窓が開けっぱなしだったので、蚊がいっぱい入ってしまった. This is a bit more straightforward in terms of grammar. その人が変。何の人? 窓が Okay, so 窓が開けっぱなしだったので because, so here we have ので that's because, right? のです are becauses. because this, again, these work backwards, right? Because of this happened. So because 窓が開けっぱなしだった. Note again how we treat this whole thing just kind of as a noun by just adding the copula here. We just add datta, it was, right? We just add the copula da, just like any other noun. 窓が開けっぱなしだった. The window was left open, and because of that, I forgot the e. Because the window was left open, 蚊がいっぱい入ってしまった. 蚊 means mosquito. Lots of mosquitoes came in, right? いっぱい means a lot of. Mosquitoes came in, a lot of them. Like a lot of mosquitoes ended up coming in. Again, I'm sorry for continually referencing other lessons that I've made, but I have made a lesson on Teshimao if you want to check that out. If that isn't super clear, essentially it just means that something is done and cannot be undone, or something was done like accidentally, etc. For more details, again, go check out the playlist. I can post the playlist again. It would be this one. But yeah, I don't want to go too much into detail for that. That's a different grammar structure. So, 窓が開けっぱなしだったので, because the window was left open, it was open and then it was abandoned in its open state. 蚊がいっぱい入ってしまった. Lots of mosquitoes came in. There you go. And now, last but not least, our last example sentence. 彼は本を家のあちこちに散らかしっぱなしにした. Furigana na missing, right? Did I miss one? Where? 窓が開けっぱな. Yes, you're right. All right, thank you for pointing that out. There's a na missing there. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that. I guess I can do this a little bit more proper. It's not that big of a deal to quickly enter the text tool. There we go. We fixed it. Wait, why is the word hanasu used for this idea again? Well, it kind of goes back to, and let me just... It kind of comes... Hello? What the frick? Okay. It kind of goes back to this part here real quick. With the horu. Ignore my notes real quick, but yeah, it kind of goes back to this neglect or abandon usage of horu, even though horu is the other pronunciation. But like, I can't really tell you like etymologically or historically why it's this way, but the meaning basically derives from the meaning of the word horu and hanasu. Like the pronunciation it got from hanasu, to leave, to let loose, to turn loose, but then its meaning is more close to horu, but it's the same kanji. So yeah, that's essentially like what it comes from, as close as I looked into it. For anything more than that, you'd have to go digging a lot deeper. So yeah. Let me go back to my last layer here. There we go. Oop. 彼は本を家のあちこちに散らかしっぱなしにした. Alright, so first of all, 散らかしっぱなし. 散らかす means to spread it around or to throw it on the floor, something like that. So 散らかしっぱなし means like he left it all around. And what did he leave all around? Well, we have 本を, which is our object, so the books. And he, right, 彼は, the books, 家のあちこちに, all around the house. あちこち means here and there, right? 家のあちこちに, and like here and there in all the places around the house, 散らかしっぱなしにした. And again, we have にした, which is this sort of like, he made it that way, right? He did this thing, right? He made it this way. It's similar to this つけっぱなしにしなければ, this にする sort of saying like he or they made it into this way. They made it into that. I notice it's pretty much the on reading plus る. What's the on reading? 放送 horu. Yes, that's true. You're not mistaken. No, that is so. There is quite a few words that actually do work like that. You're not mistaken. Yes. There is a few words that actually derive those verbs. They derive from just having the on reading plus adding either る or す. So examples for す would be like kan. I think, well, す was the original する before it turned into する. It gets complicated, but you have like 感じる is from 感ずる, which is from 感ず, I think. So yeah. Anyways, but yes, so there's some words that work like this. All right, so he left books all around the house, right? 散らかしっぱなしに. So he left books all around the house. That's essentially what this means. There you go. And again, we have this like construction here with ni suru. Just think about this in terms of noun ni suru. So yeah, it's just kind of like noun ni suru, right? It kind of works like that. So maybe think of like I don't know, 一人にする to make someone be alone, or what else could you do? I guess you could do like これにする I will go with this, I will take this, whatever. Like to sort of put things in a state is often like にする, right? It's kind of the same sort of usage here. Haven't heard of achikochi before. There you go, yeah. The achikochi is the short version of achira kochira, obviously. And it just means here and there, everywhere. Okay, let me think. I need to think real quick about negatives because I didn't think about that. There's always something that I don't think about, and then someone brings it up. Konomama-jan. Konomama-jan. Well, so jan is usually... Let me make space for that. Space! Okay, so lesson is now officially over. Before we get to that, let's do a review of just real quick, okay, before we talk about the other stuff. Real quick. I'm gonna get rid of everything. So, real quick, we had like mama. Mama, and we had panashi. Alright, so essentially for mama, just remember like mama means that it's in a state, right? It's in an unchanging state. It does not change. Whereas panashi means that it was put in a state and then it was kind of abandoned or it was left alone. That's the big difference, okay? Other than that, they're pretty similar. They both talk about these continued states of no change happening, essentially. Okay, that's it. I don't have to like talk too much about it because the rest is all in the lesson itself. It's just good to like compare them again at the end. So let's talk about what KitKat wanted to ask about. Konomama-jan. So like the jan is really like the interesting part there. So kono mama jan. There's variations of this. You have ja. So the is actually just a no. So it depends on what comes after, or if there is something that comes after, is whether you would have this in here or not. But ja, okay, ja is basically always dewa. And then dewa, in most cases, if dewa is at the end of a sentence, it can usually be interpreted like a copula. So if it's the end of a sentence, you could also just think of it as da. There's also certain dialects, as far as I know, that end up having ja instead of da. But yeah, so it's either most of the time ja is a contraction of dewa, and then at the end of a sentence it kind of works like a copula, and yeah, and then the that follows after is like a no. So at that point it would depend on what follows after. So if it's at the end of a sentence, you could think of it as a sentence ending no particle, etc. But what we could do with konomama-ja, let's take away the no. So let's take away the konomama-ja. So with this state, right? Konomama dewa. Notice again the de is actually in there. It's just kind of hidden, but it's the same de that we had in all of our other example sentences. Like here, let me get this one up again. Sono kakko no mama de, right? So we have the de here, and it's also in here. It's just hidden in the. It's just hidden in this contraction, right? So but it is in there. It's just like in all the other sentences as well. So there's really no difference. Kono mama dewa, kono mama ja. So with things as they are with this, right? With things as they are here, or with things as they are with this, something. So you could say dame, right? Kono mama ja dame would be a way of saying like, this does not work, like this is no good. But things the way they are no good, right? Maybe if you wanted to end the sentence there, and you could have konomama-jan, like you could maybe say like an as a sentence ending emphasis, no particle, saying like explanatory, being like, this is how it is, right? Konomama-jan, like, oh, it hasn't changed, it's the same, or like it will stay like this, something like that, right? It depends on the context. Jan would be short for janai, dewanai. So you can see how the ja in janai is dewa, right? It does work like that. But usually ja or jang is not short for the negative. It do be like that. Konomama-jan. Yeah. It do be like that, would more be like koyu koto da. Soyu, koyu koto da. Koyu koto ja. Soyu koto ja. Let me think real quick about negatives. Okay, I've come to a quick conclusion. I'm just gonna say this real quick before we end the lesson. I think, after some quick thinking, I think panashi cannot be used with negatives, because first of all, I don't think I've ever seen it, and second, it doesn't make grammatical sense, or it doesn't make logical sense. So panashi, I don't think should be used with negatives. Man, I didn't think about this, but it makes sense in my head, so I'll just say it, and then I hope I'm right. It doesn't make sense to me to use panashi with negative verbs, because you can't put something in a state by not doing the action. Does that make sense? Like, the panashi part only works because something is done and then it is left like that. But if you don't do it, you cannot leave it like that. Does that make sense, right? Now, there might be ways of phrasing it that way. So like maybe you leave it undone. But the whole point of panashi would be that something was done and not that it wasn't done, right? So if you want to express that it's left undone, you should just use mama, to be honest. 宿題をしないまま without doing your homework, right? 宿題をしないまま like without doing your homework. Like your homework is undone. It is left in the state of not being done. Because panashi, you'd have to have done something to use panashi. So that seems to be the explanation that makes sense in my head for why you wouldn't use panashi with negatives. So yeah, I will say you don't use it with negatives. It doesn't sound right. しないpanashi, I don't think that's a thing. You might see it. If so, you know, get back to me. But I don't think it's a thing. I can look it up, but yeah. Just my feeling tells me it shouldn't be a thing. Akepanashi. All the example sentences that I see are always positive, so yeah. Tsukepanashi. Yeah, so seems to make that makes sense to me, and I don't think I've ever seen it with a negative. So yeah, there you go. That's my explanation. Man, I can't believe I always research these, of course. Like I look them up. I look up stuff for these languages, for these streams, and there's always one thing that just wasn't in the stuff that I read, and then I just think about it. But yeah, kind of how 違いません theoretically exists, but grammatically exists grammatic, but you never see it. Yeah, I guess. But this one this one I don't think even makes sense, because remember the nai doesn't have a must stem. Like you couldn't even really grammatically make it work that way. So yeah, it would have to add to some other stem, but yeah, it would sound weird. Like maybe to the nai, the stem of nai is like na, kinda, but it's weird. Nai is weird. So yeah, but yeah, that's it. That is all you need to know about mama and panashi to use them, hopefully to your advantage. So I will end the lesson here. And if you also still have questions, we talked a little bit about some other stuff before, like we talked about terms, right? We talked about damn and stuff like that. So now is the time to get back to that. Or if you want to ask more about iya and dame, or we talked about shika as well. So now you can ask about that. But I will end the recording here. And yeah, so I will see you in the next lesson, and I will keep streaming and I will keep being available. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can also watch me stream. Hey, good for you.